Today we're making an asparagus tofu scramble with a quick homemade chermoula. It's fresh, fragrant, full of layered flavor, and comes together in one skillet. Spring always seems to bring an abundance of asparagus, and whenever it's in season, I find myself looking for ways to let it take center stage. Let's begin. Before anything goes into the pan, we'll make a quick chermoula. This vibrant North African herb sauce varies from one region and family to the next. Some versions use more parsley, others more cilantro. Some use fresh lemon, others preserved lemon, and the spices vary from one kitchen to the next. Like many traditional recipes, it evolves with the people who make it. We'll start by soaking a handful of raisins in hot water for a few minutes. This softens them before blending, adding just a touch of natural sweetness that balances the preserved lemon and warming spices. While the raisins soak, we'll press the tofu. Removing some of its moisture helps it absorb more flavor later and lets us develop a little texture as it cooks. It's a simple step, but one that makes a noticeable difference. With those underway, let's prepare the vegetables. Trim away the woody ends of the asparagus. I don't always do this, but sometimes I like to save those tougher ends for vegetable stock or soups. They're full of flavor and there's still plenty they can offer. Cut the stalks into bite-sized pieces on the diagonal. Finely chop the cilantro and parsley, trimming off some of the thicker stems. These are also good for stock. Curled or flat parsley both work. Some versions of chermoula use more parsley, others use more cilantro. After chopping, I have about a cup each of cilantro and parsley. I enjoy using them in equal amounts, but you can easily adjust the balance to suit your own taste. Let's peel and slice the garlic. Roll the lemon on the work surface to release more juice. I'll zest it first, and then squeeze the juice into the same cup, catching any seeds with a small strainer. Whole coriander and cumin seeds only need about a minute in a dry pan over medium-low heat before they become wonderfully fragrant. So much of cooking is learning to notice change before you can see it. The aroma reaches your nose first, awakening the senses. Already you can almost imagine the flavor before it reaches your palate. It's one of those tiny transformations that is pure culinary magic. It might sometimes be overlooked, yet it adds intricacy to the finished dish. To keep the herbs textured and ensure the spices are well crushed, I like blending this sauce in two stages. First, the toasted spices, garlic, the softened raisins together with the soaking water, a little olive oil, and a wedge of preserved lemon. Preserved lemons have an intensely salty, mellow citrus flavor that's quite different from fresh lemon. Growing up, my mom always kept big jars of homemade preserved lemons in the kitchen, so it's an ingredient I've enjoyed cooking with for many years. The melding of flavors that happens simply by curing lemons in salt is one that still amazes me. They bring a silky texture, as well as floral lemon brightness. If you'd like to make your own, I have an easy recipe on the blog. although they're becoming much easier to find in many grocery stores. Once smooth, now we add the lemon zest and juice, the herbs. If you can't fit all the herbs at once, you can add the rest later when the volume is reduced. A dash of cayenne, depending on how spicy you'd like it. Paprika, black pepper, and a few tablespoons of olive oil. You can adjust the oil to your preference. And we blend again. Taste before adding any more salt, as the preserved lemon might have enough. It's such a beautiful sauce that is quite reminiscent of pesto, but without any nuts, which makes it a great alternative if you have nut or certain seed allergies. A final drizzle of olive oil over the top while we set it aside. Now that the sauce is ready, the tofu has had enough time to press. Let's break it into small, irregular chunks. Growing up eating tofu, I never really thought of it as a substitute for something else. It was simply an ingredient in its own right. And I think that's why I've always appreciated it for what it is. Its own flavor, its own texture, and the many ways it can be prepared. So this recipe takes a slightly different direction from the classic egg-style tofu scramble. Instead of transforming the tofu into something else, it lets it keep its own character, while building flavor and texture around it. Rather than cooking all of it together, I like to divide it into two additions. Half goes into the skillet first, where it develops lightly golden edges before the rest is added. It's a technique I also used in my Tandoori tofu scramble recipe because it creates two different textures from the same ingredient. Some pieces become lightly crisp, while others remain softer and creamier. The difference is subtle, but every bite becomes a little more interesting. Once the tofu has taken on some color, add the asparagus. The asparagus only needs a few minutes. Keeping a little bite allows it to retain both its freshness and its color. Add a splash of water and a little salt to bring out the flavors, but not too much because the chermoula is also salty enough. Sometimes it isn't the ingredients themselves that make the difference, but the attention we give them along the way. Now make a little space in the pan and add a few spoonfuls of the chermoula. As soon as it touches the warmth of the pan, the aroma fills the kitchen. Tiny bubbles begin to rise through the sauce, gently drawing out the aroma of each ingredient. The garlic mellows, the spices bloom, the herbs soften, the preserved lemon becomes sweeter and rounder. The warmth reveals an entirely different side of this same chermoula. Stir everything together until the tofu is coated. Finally, whisk together a little soy milk with tapioca or cornstarch and pour it into the pan. As it gently heats, it transforms into a silky, unctuous sauce that gathers everything together while remaining surprisingly light. It's the final step that simply helps all flavors to meet. Today, I'm serving this asparagus tofu scramble alongside a fresh salad and some sweet potato fries. And it pairs just as well with toasted bread, rice over pasta, warm pita, or tucked into a wrap. A few spoonfuls of the fresh chermoula over the top bring out the vibrant herbs and citrus. This is a meal that naturally changes with whatever the season happens to offer. One of the things I enjoy most about recipes like this isn't just the final dish, but how it comes together. Every ingredient in this dish changes a little through the way it's treated. The spices become warmer, the chermoula becomes deeper, the tofu develops two different textures. If you make this recipe, I'd love to hear how it turned out. And if you find another favorite way to use chermoula, let us know in the comments. I'm always inspired by the ideas this community shares. You'll find the full recipe along with the preserved lemons and tandoori tofu scramble recipe I mentioned over on the blog. You can also join the newsletter there if you'd like to be notified whenever a new recipe is published. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, take care.